Welcome everybody, ladies and gentlemen, NBA fans all around the world. Welcome to the Worst Take Awards.
First annual
Worst Take Award show. Not only will we be presenting MVP, Rookie of the Year, Most Improved, the NBA awards you've come to know and love, but also their opposites. Now I won't get too in depth, we'll just get into it and show you exactly what we mean. But we will start off with the NBA Most Valuable Player Award. The nominees are Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the OKC Thunder, Nikola Jokic from the Denver Nuggets, the Milwaukee Bucks Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Boston Celtics Jason Tatum.
Yeah, thank you, Arman. You know, it's that time of year. You start to wonder who's going to be taking home some hardware. Obviously, these guys' ultimate goal is to go out there and win the Larry O'Brien, but not everybody is fortunate enough to do that. I know that myself, being a Suns fan. You know, some of these guys on there, they've had a taste of that, and they just want the whole load, like Charles Barkley would tell you. I would... It's Arman.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. And a lot of these guys go out there and they give you their whole load every single night, on and off the court.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
A lot of the time, it's just whose load is the biggest, and that'll give you the Most Valuable Player award.
And that load was the responsibilities of their team and being leaders. There isn't someone who brings more leadership to the table than a man who can run an entire stable. He's dedicated to his team, just like his horses.
It really is incredible that he's able to put up the stats that he does night in, night out. When you know he doesn't even want to be there leading his team, he'd rather be home riding his horses.
You know, he's dedicated to his horses, to his teams, but, you know, it's been very unfortunate. His pet turtle has really turned on him and made life hard for him. I think it's impressive how he's been able to overcome that as well.
It really is impressive that he managed to make his pet turtle at least a competent NBA player coming off the bench for them, though. You got to give him that. However, the number one team in the West right now, the best team by a wide margin in terms of differential, in terms of dominating their opponents, and their leader, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, has been the front runner all year for it. Now, can Jokic catch up to him? It's certainly seeming so, and this is certainly seeming like one of the best MVP races in recent memory, if not of all time. And as much as Nikola Jokic has been impressive, I have to give it to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, leading his team to one of the best records we've seen in a long time and having a bunch of aura while doing it, even if he did lose the meat off. Donovan Mitchell won that award. Obviously, that was a midseason award. You got to give it to him nonetheless.
You've accused me of being overwhelmed by the aura, but it seems like it's gotten you as well. That aura is something special.
There's a lot of voter fatigue out there with voting for Nikola Jokic. It's hard to deny him a fourth one because of what he is doing, but if you look at the numbers, they call Shai Gilgeous-Alexander a free throw merchant. You take away free throws, he is still the NBA's leading scorer on the best team. So for my vote, I will actually be going with the Canadian brother.
The Worst Take awarded Most Valuable Player of the NBA is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, will that be the case in real life? The actual NBA awards? Who cares? This is the actual award show now. So what they do doesn't really matter. However, what is a specialty of the Worst Take show today, like we talked about earlier, is the antithesis of all of these awards, the opposites. What's the opposite of the MVP? Well, of course, the LVP, the least valuable player. And just as the Most Valuable Player award is named after Michael Jordan now, the LVP also has a namesake, the Tony Snell NBA LVP award. The nominees this year are Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Julius Randle.
Well, you look at a lot of these guys' peaks, some damn good basketball that's been played, and that certainly was not the case this season. If you run out with this team, you might have the first 0-82 squad. Doesn't matter who you put as the fifth player. It could be Jesus himself. They don't win a game. Of course, it hits home when you even say, I'm just going to call him BB. He hasn't earned the respect for his name to be said since he's put on a Phoenix Suns uniform. But I would rather have the production we've gotten out of him over a few others. My vote for the Tony Snell award, it's got to be Paul George. You know, you have way off P, you have playoff P, now you have podcast P, and now you have another P word that I'm not going to say because this is a family show, but that's what he's been this season.
Injuries factor in with Paul George, whereas the rest of these guys really have just been truly unvaluable to their teams all year. At least Paul George had the decency to not be able to play for most of the year. Who knows if that would have helped the Sixers with how their record is right now. It's not like it could have been any worse with him playing. Paul Paul George, because the injuries kind of goes on the back burner for me at least. To me, it comes down to two here, Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook.
We call him BB. He has not earned respect for his name to be said.
Doesn't even have respect to say his own name that was given to him from his mother?
No, he kept that in DC.
That was in the contract?
That's part of his no trade clause, no name clause.
No name clause. I wasn't aware of that clause, so thank you for informing me.
It's one of the most famous clauses right next to Santa. I like that one.
Say you like your own joke.
That was pretty good, though. I can't lie.
What for me really sealed it in this LVP race was the 1-point game while the Suns were still going for a hypothetical play-in spot. Bradley Beal getting 1 point while he's still talking about being very happy with his no-trade clause and getting paid the horrible contract that he is. My LVP vote is going to go to BB.
I mean, he was lethal and really a sniper. And now, like his new namesake, he's been relegated to a BB gun. There's little efficiency, not much damage to it, and you're not really scared of it at all. And that's very much who BB is now, and absolutely adds no value to this team or offensive anything. Anything.
Just don't let him and Ja Morant team up, because I'm afraid it might no longer be a BB gun in that situation. But Bradley Beal, the 2025 NBA worst take LVP.
What I guess you could say is you can chalk this up to a BBL.
I guess you could.
I've been seeing BBLs all season long watching the Phoenix Suns.
You've been in Miami, huh?
BB in Beverly Hills.
No Miami trips.
Moving on, the Wilt Chamberlain Rookie of the Year, very coveted award. Not that this race is all that hot of a race this year, let's be honest. It's not what it was last year, and it's not going to be what it might be next year. But somebody's got to win the award still. The nominees this year, Zachary Rissache, Alex Sarr, Stephon Castle, and Khalil Ware.
I can say personally, one player that has been an instant game changer, instant impact is Khalil Ware. In this type of league, you got to shoot threes and you got to be able to protect the rim. He can do both. Best comparison I can see is Derek Lively with an actual three ball. My pick goes to Khalil Ware. I mean, it's pretty simple. You look at these other guys, Zachary Rissache, he's shown flashes, but I don't really see him being anything special.
Cameron, I know you're a Miami homer here, so I don't know that I respect the home cooking pick that I think you've done here. I think Khalil Ware's had a great year for the expectation that he came in with. And Zachary Rissache really has been improving as the season has gone on. Alex Sarr, he's on the Wizards. You know, obviously his numbers, the totals look pretty good, but he hasn't really been all that great. I think Stephon Castle possibly would have been the 4th or 5th best rookie last year. But in this horrible class, Stephon Castle is the Rookie of the Year for me.
And not Zachary Rissache.
No, definitely not Zachary Rissache.
Again, Arman, I think you hit the nail on the head with Cameron's take. I think that was a lot of home cooking. Maybe it was just the previous talks of BBLs. I got him excited about Miami. That's been the only excitement going on in Miami. It 1,000,000% has not been the Heat or Khalil Ware. If Jared McCain had stayed healthy, I think it would have been a complete runaway. Unfortunate injury to end his rookie season, and that cleared the way for a guy like Stephon Castle to come in and take over. You look at a guy like Zachary Rissache, the least hyped #1 overall pick since Anthony Bennett, and that's the production we've gotten. So my pick is going to be Stephon Castle.
So the Rookie of the Year does go to Stephon Castle, although I will say my runner-up would have been Zachary Rissache.
I don't know, man. I just don't feel like Zachary Rissache was all that good this season. I mean, he's shooting 34% from three.
Transitioning from Rookie of the Year, it'll be a much tighter race for the Darko Milicic Bust of the Year award. The nominees, Reed Shepherd, Rob Dillingham, Cody Williams, or the entire class. Zach, would you like to start? Zachary, would you like to start?
Zachary.
No, I'm not French. I'm not French.
What are you talking about? That's just how we said his name. What do you mean?
Yeah, right. This draft, and I think everybody kind of knew it coming into it. I think it's sad. I think Caitlin Clark would have been the best player in the NBA out of all of these rookies. There has been no really standout person. Stephon Castle is picking the best out of the worst. It's kind of like presidential elections. There's cons, more cons than pros.
Specifically, an ex-con last time.
Yes, this was the first convict that was actually able to hold office. Crazy. Can't vote for yourself, but you can be the president. Nice. Good job, America. I would say the entire class. I really would. The other 3 nominees are all busts. Zachariah Orisage is a bust. I think Sarr is a bust. Castle might be the only one, and Jared McCain.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you, Zachary.
This is the first sweep in worst take history. I'm going to have to agree. The winner of the Darko Milicic Bust of the Year award is the entire 2024 NBA draft class. Even the Rookie of the Year, Stephon Castle. In worst take award history, the first player to win 2 awards in the same year.
Quite impressive, honestly.
That is very impressive.
Next up, the Akeem Olajuwon Defensive Player of the Year award. The nominees, Draymond Green, Lou Dort, Evan Mobley, and Dyson Daniels.
One of these players has anchored a all-time great team. He's soon to be a top 5 player in the league. If you know, you know, with his ability to cover ground, to defend in space, protect the rim all at the same time. I gotta go with Evan Mobley.
You know, Zach, I knew this would happen. I knew this would be his vote because he's pushing the agenda. He's trying as hard as possible to make his take of Evan Mobley being a top 5 player in 5 years a reasonable take. How more to do it than to make him a defensive player of the year?
Cameron's a defensive-minded kind of guy because it's always the things that you can't do that you want to see, which is why he loves dunks and defense because he's never been able to do either one of those 2 things. So he wants to push the agenda of a defensive-oriented NBA.
The only thing he is defensive about is the grocery list.
Cameron, onto that point as well, we're just talking about defense. How many of those grocery list names are blocked?
Names? This is my grocery list. The things I get from Whole Foods.
And how many of them did you meet at Whole Foods?
Well, I met, asparagus, their chicken wings. They actually have really great kombucha. So all of those things at Whole Foods, I really enjoy. Frequent on my grocery list.
So are you a frequent flyer at Whole Foods, or are the grocery list items frequent flyers in your life?
I feel like a lot of them weren't frequent.
Just a wham bam, thank you, Cam.
Just a one-time purchase most of the time.
Right.
That's
my vote for the defensive player of the year. He held down the fort when their big man went down with a hip injury because he is as fragile as glass. I think it's Lugens, the Dort guy from OKC.
This is a weird defensive player of the year race. It kind of feels like the Marcus Smart year, where there's really not a great candidate this year.
Mikal Bridges was a candidate that year. Let's take a quick timeout.
Exactly. Like I said, bad choices that year. It's a little weird because obviously you had Victor Wembanyama, the clear front runner most of the year, go down with the injury. Anthony Davis missed too much time this year with that adductor.
What? Anthony Davis got hurt? No.
I know it's shocking. I know.
The Iron Man of the NBA?
Exactly, yeah.
No.
They changed his nickname to Tony Stark because of how much of an Iron Man he was. I know, it's shocking.
Gosh.
It's very unfortunate. Obviously, you expected him to be able to stay healthy, to win, but most years, Evan Mobley still would have been a step away. However, this year, I do think because of the impact he's made on a great team, I'll give it to Evan Mobley as the Defensive Player of the Year in this weird Defensive Player of the Year class. But I think we all know if he had played enough games, it was going to be Victor Wembanyama.
It very much reminds me of the bubble ring.
The thrombosis Defensive Player of the Year? Is that what you're saying?
We have a thrombosis Defensive and Offensive Player of the Year because Damian Lillard would be the Offensive Player of that award.
I don't know if he's winning any award for offense this year, to be honest.
Yeah.
The opposite of the Defensive Player of the Year award, everybody knows about that. What about the Prime James Harden Defensive Liability of the Year award?
Waiting on this one. That's why I have the Brooklyn James Harden jersey underneath the suit.
And we'll start the nominations off with a Brooklyn player as well. The nominees: Cam Thomas, Keontae George, Devin Booker, and Trae Young. Zachary, is there a problem?
Yeah, there's a problem. Our whole team is bad at defense. Why single one guy out? You could pick the starting 5 from the Utah Jazz then.
Much like we chose Evan Mobley as a leading defensive candidate for the leading team, we have to choose the leading non-defensive candidate for the leading non-defensive team. Who better a candidate than Devin Booker?
We're not the worst defensive team in the NBA. There are teams who have worse defensive ratings. The Utah Jazz and the Washington Wizards, I believe, are number 1 if I'm not mistaken.
The committee limited it to one player per team for this award, or else it would have been the entire Jazz starting lineup. So that Keontae George is essentially representing the entire Utah Jazz team.
There are worse defenders on the Phoenix Suns than Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker just gets stuck with a lot of matchups of the best player, and he just gets stuck with elite scorers, and they're tough to stop. But they can't stop him either.
Well, I mean, when you're tasked with guarding the best player and you're not good at it, sorry, you're a defensive liability. But he won't win the award for me here. I'm going to have to give it to Cam Thomas here. Truly has been a turnstile, which makes sense up in Brooklyn. You go down in the subways and you see 10 of him per stop, essentially. And speaking of Cameron, who do you think should be the defensive liability of the year?
I mentioned it beforehand. They're playing no defense out there in Phoenix because Devin Booker is enabling every player that goes up against them to have a night, and he's getting fried. I can't respect that. Devin Armani is my defensive liability.
Interesting. Or were the Phoenix Suns bad at defense? Absolutely. That is not up for debate. Yes. That
unquestioned.
Okay. I got it. Thank you.
100%.
Arman,
1,000%.
Incredibly awful.
Cameron, I got it. Okay, guys.
Horrible.
Okay.
Inconceivable.
Atrocious.
Soft. Overrated. Pretty boy. A bitch.
I understand. But at the same time that Devin Booker is quote unquote getting fried, he is returning the favor and doing it at a higher level.
Is that why you guys are winning?
No. This is a personal award because this is defensive liability as the person. If you look at 3 of the 4 guys, as a defender, I would be worried if I had to guard Devin Booker. I would be worried if I had to guard Trae Young. I would be worried if I had to guard Cam Thomas because he is a flamethrower that is viable to go off for 50 on any given night. Keontae George, on the other hand, I am not worried about. I'm going into that matchup knowing I'm going to have 40 and we're going to win the game. I'm not worried at all. Taking into account all of that and the fact that it is the Utah Jazz, my vote is going to be Keontae George.
Well, there is no consensus here for the Prime James Harden Award. I think the guys are just going to have to share it. Keontae George, Devin Booker, and Cam Thomas will all get a piece of the Prime James Harden Defensive Liability of the Year award. Now on to a much happier note. One of the most prestigious for upcoming guys is to win the NBA Most Improved Award, which is now named after George Mikan.
I meant to ask you, Arman, a guy like George Mikan, obviously we know you guys have ties and you go way back watching TV in black and white or whatever you guys did back then. I mean, how was that for you to find out that one of your childhood friends was going to have an award named after him, and it highlights improvements? You know, this is an award that really shows how far you've come. And we know George Mikan came far. Arman, you know that more than anybody.
Yeah.
You know, how far he could come.
Okay. You know, it's interesting. I was actually less of a friend, more of a mentor for him. So being able to see him improve so much when I was really the one that taught him how to shoot a basketball in the first place, it was really something to behold. Now, the other aspect of your question, I'm not really sure about. I'm not on his grocery list per se, so I wouldn't be aware. Cameron's list is pretty long though, so he might be somewhere in there.
We're going to have to go check the actual documents if Cameron ever wants to provide those to clear his name on what this grocery list actually is. But as a mentor, you're saying that a lot of how far he came is your doing.
No, I said his game in basketball was a lot of my doing.
I'm not referencing anything else when I'm talking about how far he's come. He's probably come further along than a lot. He's probably come further along than a lot of guys in NBA history.
It's hard to say. I think a lot of guys in the league today have come a long way. You know, guys are taller now than ever, so it's hard to say that somebody back in the 60s would have came that far.
I mean, length definitely strength is how far you. It's a huge part on how far you come. It depends on how long you are, for sure.
So let's see how far these nominees have come. The nominees for Most Improved, somebody that has already been mentioned, Dyson Daniels is the first nominee, alongside Cade Cunningham, Ivica Zubac, and Austin Reeves.
For me, one guy, his presence was felt. He put his impact and his leadership on his team. And for me, that's Cade Cunningham. With the record and who the Pistons are, it's a no-brainer.
I think the biggest progression he's made has been his choices of participants in his Instagram lives. He's made some pretty poor ones.
I can't wait to see you at draft night, Daddy. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. What are we doing?
People are going to call you daddy no matter what, so you might as well get used to it, Cade. However, when I think of most improved, I think Cade has been good since he got into the league. I don't think there was ever a question of whether or not he could hoop. One of the other guys on this list, always kind of been a role player, but I think this year he's taken a step up, and that's Ivica Zubac. When I think of most improved, I think of the guys that were okay here and there and then just kind of shot up.
It's interesting what most improved can mean to different people. You know, I think definitely Ivica Zubac has taken a step up, averaging a double-double now, 16 and 12, something like that. But I'm not going to have him as my pick for most improved this year. I do think Cade Cunningham is most improved, not just for the numbers improvement, the jump he's made from good player with potential to legitimate all-star, top 20 player in the league, and also improving so much that his team is improved into a playoff position now. To me, I think Cade Cunningham has to be the pick here. So he will win the Most Improved Player award. Now on to one of my favorite awards, the Most Regressed Player of the Year, of course, named after Ben Simmons. The nominees this year, Paul George. He didn't win the LVP, but let's see if he can get the Most Regressed Player of the Year award. He's going up against, now on the Milwaukee Bucks, Kyle Kuzma, Terry Rozier of the Miami Heat, and of course, the Utah Jazz former All-Star, Lauri Markkanen.
There's lots of reasons to hate all of these guys. Gosh.
Hate's a strong word. I said regressed.
If you are a true Worst Take follower, you are aware of a list of players that I hate for no reason. And one of those names is Kyle Kuzma. It really does make me want to vote for him. But Kuzma's never been good. You know, so I don't even think he deserves the honor because he was already bad. He just got even worse. Now, on the other hand, Lauri Markkanen was an all-star. He's not having a very, very, for lack of better words, shitty year, but it's not been good.
It's been pretty bad.
And, you know, he's averaging 18. That's solid role player numbers, but he's getting paid all-star money. So my vote for most regressed is going to be Lauri Markkanen.
Some numbers to support your pick there, Zach. Lauri Markkanen last year, 48% from the field. This year, 42% from the field. Last year, three-point percentage was 39.9. This year, 34.6 from the three-point line. From 8.2 rebounds per game down to 5.9, and from 23 points per game to 19. A massive drop-off. Yeah. However, I truly am amazed that that is not going to be my pick for the Ben Simmons Award, because there was a fall-off even greater. And as much as we knew he was on the downturn of his career, I don't think anybody expected, regardless of the injury, how much of a fall-off we truly saw from Podcast P. His regression would have been there regardless of injury, and the fact that he's on the contract that he is not helping his case either to avoid this award.
I have to agree with Arman for my pick. Podcast P has been pretty poor. Please, PG, you need to stop playing.
Some numbers to back that up. I know the injuries kept him out of a lot of games. Don't get it twisted, though. He played 41 of them. And in those 41 games, dropped from 47% from the field down to 43. Down from 41% from the three-point line to 35.8. From an all-star season last year, 22.6 points per game, down to just 16.2. The Ben Simmons Award is going to go to Paul George.
Podcast P.
Coach of the Year. Let's make these a little quicker because, you know, who really cares about coaches at the end of the day, right? The nominees: JB Bickerstaff, Mark Daigneault, Kenny Atkinson, and I'm sorry, Cam, I think it should have been Ime Udoka, but we're going by the odds here.
You gotta be kidding me.
The fourth nominee is JJ Redick.
So you're not going to put MA on? I mean, we have the second best record in the non-Eastern Conference, and we were literally a lottery team last season.
Don't take it up with me. This is the committee's doing. We're here to vote.
Who's on the committee?
I don't know. That's behind the scenes.
Who's on the committee? They need a stern talking to. That's all I know.
I'll buy you a first-class ticket to Vegas, Cameron, to go give them a talking to, because I agree, and it's disrespectful to him.
Disrespectful,
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it definitely doesn't help when you sleep with your former organization employees and their wives.
There were some reports that a few on the committee had also gotten some texts from their wives that they might have been leaving them. So related, not sure, but there's been some rumors in there that some on the committee had some personal problems with Ime Udoka.
Not only a great basketball coach, but you know what comes with basketball is making difficult shots, and MA has demonstrated that he can do that.
You know what? You're right. I think it's unfair to tell us all as kids in the form of a movie that we should care about love and basketball. But then when we intermingle the two, it's not okay?
I agree with you. You know, there are so many movies about love and basketball. Obviously, Love and Basketball 1, like Mike. White men can't jump. If that doesn't teach you love,
Air Bud?
I don't know what does.
I did think it was a little weird that there was a dog love story. They also had to take a scene out of there. I don't know if we want to talk about that one, but
I can't say I know what you're referencing. You care giving an explanation?
I mean, did you see the movie?
Air Bud? Of course I
Yeah.
saw the movie.
I mean, then you know what I'm talking about.
There was a scene that was removed?
You can imagine where the love story might go. Is a very strange direction for it to go.
So Air Bud turned into 101 Dalmatians. Got it.
Exactly. Exactly. You didn't know that it was the prequel?
Lady in the Tramp style.
Yeah, that's the prequel.
No.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Shout out Air Bud, man. They cooking.
Much like M.A. Udoka.
Even if he was nominated, he wouldn't have been my pick, although I do think he should have at least been nominated. It's really hard to go up against JB Bickerstaff here. I know Mark Daigneault has been great this year, led the OKC Thunder to an incredible record, but he got his props last year. I really do think for the turnaround that Bickerstaff has done, I think it's got to be him.
What's already said doesn't need to be explained. Will the Pistons make a title run? No, they won't. But they had a good regular season, and Bickerstaff deserves his flowers.
Last season, the Pistons, they put the piss in Pistons. Bickerstaff has made the most of that. It's obvious. It's Bickerstaff for me.
So it is going to be a unanimous sweep. The coach of the year is going to be JB Bickerstaff. But what about the worst coach of the year? Who is going to be the Darvin Ham Worst Coach of the Year award winner? Mike Budenholzer, Doc Rivers, Taylor Jenkins, or even though he was only the coach for about a fourth or not even that of the season, Mike Brown.
Arman, why don't you go first? I don't think you've gone first yet.
Even though Taylor Jenkins and Mike Brown have both been fired, I think the worst coach of the year award winner has to be Mike Budenholzer. I know he really has not had a roster to do much with outside of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. He really has not been utilizing his guys to the best of his abilities, been kind of handicapping Devin Booker in a way.
I could not agree more with you. Handicapped, I think that is a perfect word to use. There are ways to go about finding guys that can play defense and drawing up schemes and scouting. That's what you're supposed to do as a coach, but hasn't done any of that. You have athletes, you have talent, and you haven't been able to put it together defensively or offensively. And this Suns team, this big three that everybody's been talking about, it's a big two. Don't you ever put BB in those conversations with Durant and Booker. It's going to go down as one of the biggest busts of teams of all time.
Obviously, it's going to go to Coach Bud anyway, which makes a second award for your team. So congratulations, Zach. Honestly, I just want to vote for Doc Rivers simply because of that comment he made. He has the most losing mentality and constantly inherits great teams and does absolutely nothing with them. Just because you haven't been swept yet, Doc, yes, I'm talking to you, doesn't mean you're not a trash coach.
I would say go back to commentating, but you really weren't even good at that. Go sit on a beach somewhere.
Put some lotion on your vocal cords.
And dry your hairline while you're at it.
Oh, guys, we hate him. Holy shit. Now on to the Executive of the Year, a very forgotten award, but, two very deserving nominees this year, and honestly, we're just going to keep it to the two because of how outstanding they've been. It's going to be Sam Presti and Rob Pelinka. I think this would have been a runaway award for Sam Presti if it was not for the trade deadline and Rob Pelinka really being handed on a platter. One of the best players in the league and a 25-year-old superstar, Luka Doncic. When you set your franchise up for success for that long in the future, I think you got to be the Executive of the Year.
As far as executives go, it doesn't get much better than Sam Presti. He has built a team that is the best in the West, but also they still have many picks they can go through to continue to make trades. The top team in the league should have the Executive of the Year.
I think you can make a good argument, Cam. They have picks on picks on picks. They can go and get any player that they wanted to right now, but they don't need it. They have all the talent and grown in home. However, for this season, I think Pelinka just answered the phone and said deal. I really do. I don't think there was anything more than that, but sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good. So my vote is going to be Rob Pelinka.
Rob Pelinka, I wouldn't have believed it if you told me in the offseason before the year, but Rob Pelinka is the Executive of the Year. And I don't know if that award has an actual namesake in the NBA, but the Worst Take Award of Worst Executive of the Year definitely has a namesake, and the namesake is Nico Harrison. And the nominees this year are Nico Harrison, Nico Tyrone Harrison, the GM of the Mavericks, and the dumbass that traded Luka Doncic.
This might be the closest race that we've had of any of these awards. There's so many good options or bad options in this case. Nico Harrison, stupid. Nico Tyrone Harrison, stupid. The GM of the Mavericks, stupid. And the dumbass who traded away Luka Doncic, I think you can all see where this is going. Stupid, like all 4 of these guys. But my vote is the dumbass who traded away Luka Doncic.
You're right. This is definitely the toughest race so far, the closest race. It's tough to see a guy like Nico Harrison, who the award is named after, not win his own award. But I think I have to agree. The dumbass that traded Luka Doncic has to win the award here.
Obviously, all of these candidates have a very compelling argument. There was a lot of moves this year that happened that could have brought into question the quality of leadership of that team. Obviously.
Hold on, folks.
Okay.
Okay, we've lost a host. Worst host of the year. There he is.
Worst host of the year goes to Cameron Dean.
I want something. Oh my God.
For leaving in the middle of your monologue. That was really the moment you locked it up.
And for the worst takes of the year.
Also that. Yes, also that.
Well, I'm honored you guys thought of me to give me an award.
Absolutely. It was a no-brainer. When I say I really couldn't think of anybody else to give this award to, I mean it.
Really, as soon as I heard Scotty Barnes, I knew you were going to win this award in a landslide.
You had a great second half. First 6 months, first half of the year was like, oh, he's making a little bit of sense, but then you just took that and completely threw it in the trash can. I mean, I've never seen a collapse so great in my life. Like it's astonishing to see. Proud of you, Unc.
Thanks, Zekati. I appreciate it.
Truly one of a kind collapse, almost Duke versus Houston level collapse here. I mean, it started so well, and then you hit the trade deadline and that Luka Doncic AD trade, the take of Luka still being top 2, even though you said that the Lakers lost the trade. And then you get to the top 10 players in 5 years, not even having Jason Tatum at all on your list while having guys like Scotty Barnes. It was truly something to behold.
Appreciate this award. I'm glad I got it. The comments have obviously supported me throughout the way. And so I appreciate you guys at home. You guys who watch our TikToks, our YouTubes, you're the real MVP.
Couldn't put the worst takes out there without you watching.
Yes.
Cam, who's your winner of Worst Executive of the Year? Who's your winner of Worst Executive of the Year?
He already got the award.
He stopped halfway through.
What? What do you mean?
He won't be on record claiming that because he has the Mavs winning the trade. So he won't get caught saying that Nico Harrison, or the dumbass who traded away Luka Doncic, is the worst executive of the year.
I think honestly that's the reason that the first guy off of the nomination list, the committee just informed me, was Cameron Dean if he was hired. So that honestly makes a lot of sense. To the last award here, the Menace to Society Award, really a truly unique to the show award here. And of course, the namesake cannot be forgotten. It's the Karl Malone Menace to Society Award. Had to be multiple time winner of the award for sure. Almost, I think, 13-time winner. You guys can look that one up, Karl Malone 13.
Sure did. 13's his lucky number.
Absolutely. He loves that number. Made a lot of love to that. Okay. The nominees this year, Ja Morant, Isaiah Stewart, and Draymond Green, the winner of the award last year. So the reigning Menace to Society.
Isaiah Stewart for the Pistons. He's carrying on the legacy of the bad boys, and he's always ready for a fight.
It was a really middling race for a while, not really getting a front runner. But then that whole incident with the Pistons fight, the brawl with Isaiah Stewart leading the way, really made him the front runner. But these last few days, out of nowhere, Ja Morant has come and put his name, inserted it back into the race here. A former Menace to Society award winner. Really thought he had recovered last season, but I think he is going to be my Menace to Society award winner, which honestly seems to be kind of what he's angling for. So I'm happy to give him that award. Happy to see him win it again.
Thought the rehabilitation process worked. We hadn't heard of any more 17-year-olds. He stopped pulling guns on kids, and just recently he decided to pull out gun celebration again after the league explicably told him not to. At that point, I don't even think you're being a menace. I think you're just ignorant. I think you're just childish. Nobody's worried about you, brother. Beef Stew is about that action. He's kind of like if Dylan Brooks was actually physically intimidating. I feel like that would be Isaiah Stewart. I got to give it to the crash out.
Well, Isaiah Stewart will win it this year. Really not as good of a race for Menace of Society award winner this year as last year. Obviously, you had Draymond Green in the race last year, Miles Bridges in the race last year, Josh Giddey.
Josh Primo.
Yeah, Josh Primo. So like a lot of great candidates last year. This year, not so much. It fluctuates, just like the Rookie of the Year race this year wasn't the best, but the MVP award race was incredible. So maybe next year we'll get even more Menaces to Society. We'll have to see. But that is going to do it for the Worst Take Awards. I hope you enjoyed the show. Very glad that you were here to experience the first annual Worst Take NBA Awards. Congratulations to all the winners and the losers. Well, the winners of being the biggest losers of this NBA season. And we hope to see you again for the awards and the nominations next year.
I mean, I guess my final words of advice were if you didn't see your name in here, you can come a long way. So don't stop coming.
Words to live by, truly. Inspiring words, Zach. It was the philosopher Smash Mouth. That's right. Yes. And they don't stop coming. And with that, we bid you good night. Good night, Worst Take family.